Is this runway casting for a grumpy brand or a smiley brand?
So it's a grumpy brand, yeah?
Congratulations! Show me that Balenciaga look. Suddenly I'm dressed in something way less expensive. It's H&M! Yay! Balenciaga! And H&M! Balenciaga! And H&M!
I grew up in the era of the great disaster movies, and the Poseidon Adventure was a particular favorite of mine, and it came to mind while I was watching this film, and I wonder if it was of any influence on you at all.
Not that particular movie, actually, but there were some other movies that I, of course, had to relate to in some way. When it comes to this survival on a deserted island and power structures that are turned upside down and so on. There's one movie called Swept Away by Lina Wertmüller. It has the similar kind of setup a little bit, but to use the island and the after catastrophe scenario, so to speak, is a really efficient way to look at hierarchies and structures. And especially maybe in our times, you know, when someone's profession is to take pictures of yourself, and you're super good at that. But what happens when you end up on a deserted island and it's know-how on fishing and doing fire that is the most valuable skills?
Well, the power structure certainly is turned upside down by the time we get to the island. And I thought that's, for me, where the real kind of satire came from, because you had these very wealthy people who, for me, just became like children, like babies almost, on the island because they had never had to really do anything for themselves.
That is a big part why I was curious to make the film in these three parts, because it takes place in first the fashion world, then on a luxury yacht, and then it ends up on a deserted island. And the structure that is, for example, on a luxury yacht, it's interesting to see the relationship between the people working and the passengers. They have absurd demands. You know, when I'm making the films, I always try to relate with the possibility for me to do the same. I have to understand how someone can become like ignorant in that way, or but it is actually hard to understand some of the behavior.
This is a satire, but it seems to me that it moves beyond satire somehow. Like, how do you see it? Because I've seen it. I've been trying to explain to people, without giving it away, what it is.
Yeah.
But it's social commentary, absolutely. It's satire, but there's other layers here. What do you see?
I think it's hard to put a genre on it, but it's almost the easiest way to explain that it's both humor and some serious elements to it also. So that's why satire is maybe the best word to explain it with. I have not been really inspired by other satires. I've been inspired by Larry David and Michael Haneke. These two are my two. So it's in the middle of Larry David and Michael Haneke.
Right. So Curb Your Enthusiasm and Funny People. Somewhere in the middle there, that's where you exist. Yeah. Well, I have a quote here from you where you say, all my films are about people trying to avoid losing face.
Yeah.
Why is that important to you?
But because I think we are a herd animal, we are a group animal. We are so affected by how other people look at us. We are so terrified of being excluded from the group. And in this film, I got very interested in how the fashion industry are selling their clothes by using this primal fear that we have of being excluded and losing face.
On top of all of this, you have a Marxist captain played by Woody Harrelson. And the introduction of Woody Harrelson in this film is so interesting. Tell me about creating that character.
Woody did a fantastic work on this character, and I just told him, in order to try to convince him to play the role, I said, okay, you're going to be a Marxist captain on a luxury yacht, and every cruise you try to have the captain's dinner, a 7-meal course, when the weather gets rough. So all the passengers get super seasick. You will get really, really drunk together with a Russian oligarch, and you will play around with the mic system, reading communist manifests to this shitting and throwing up passengers. And he's like, yes, I want to do this. It's fun when you have someone that is as known as Woody is, to play with the idea, like you just hear his voice, and finally when he comes out, okay, it's Woody Harrelson. He was so respectful and nice to everybody in the crew, and just brought in so much energy to the film, and I love to work with him again if it's possible.
I once went on a cruise 20 years ago, said I would never do it again because the boat was constantly rocking like this. And I felt exactly the same way when I was watching the film.
Yeah.
You captured that so beautifully. Was it, I mean, that wasn't shot on the real yacht. I assume that was on a soundstage. Were you moving
Yes.
the whole room?
The set designer is like fantastic. It's a set designer called Josefin Åsberg, and she built the whole dining room on a gimbal, so we could rock the room 20 degrees. And we were shooting on this set, like I think maybe 3 weeks in a row or something. So the film crew had to eat seasick pills, and because otherwise people were getting seasick when we were shooting these things.
It works so well. The film's wonderful. I can't wait to see what the audience sees, thinks of it when they see it tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think.